1977 was the last time the computer industry lived. They didn't know it for about another 5 years, right? Ultimately, IBM had to go in, everybody else had to go in. But that was the last day. And it was because what we had done was to build a computer that did what people wanted it to do. Now, was it the ultimate computer? No, we went on and we put floppy disk on everything else. I just wrote a note about was. You know, when we all started, we were kind of competing, but, you know, ultimately...
Hello, this is Gary from Knowledge Retro Gamers, and this is going to be attempt 2 of recording some Commodore PET gameplay footage. Let's start with air attack, and we'll see how it goes. Okay. Now this is quite a simple game, or probably one of the more simple games. Basically, it's it may be known, people may know this as Blitz on some machines. I actually played it on the Commodore VIC-20 back in the 80s on a VIC-20. It's called Blitz, and the idea is basically you control the plane flying along. Each time it leaves the screen, it starts a row lower, and the idea is to drop bombs to flatten the buildings, because if you don't, you're going to crash. When you get low enough to the building, you're going to crash. So this is quite an easy game to play on the PET, because literally you just got one key, and you can probably hear the rather noisy space bar as I hit it. And you can see I'm not doing very well. Okay, so the second game I'm going to be playing is called Aliens. Now, I thought I'd take this time while it's loading just to quickly talk about the setup I have here. This is a Commodore PET. You can probably see by the bottom part of the video, this is a 3016 series. This is one of the early 16 kilobyte machines. And I'm kind of cheating a little bit here. I'm not loading games off disc or tape. What I have got, and you can probably see it in the right hand side of the screen propped up against the monitor, is a Tapduino, which is basically an Arduino based card that emulates a tape deck. So basically you copy your tap files onto the onto your card, plug the card in, and you just load them. This one was built by Simon from 8-Bitronics, and he basically was able to 3D print a nice little case and some buttons. So all games will be loaded from the Tapduino. They load in real time, so some of them might be a bit long. I will cut out the loading sequence on most of these. I'm only using this one now to talk. Yeah, so this is going to be Aliens. Okay, so pretty simple shoot 'em up. Just to give an example of how bad the first attempt at recording was, those aliens that have got the two little dots for eyes, which I think is a quotes. You wouldn't have seen them. It would have just been some sort of almost a white shape. You wouldn't have seen the eyes in them at all. So yeah, you can see why I had to re-record it. I guess this reminds me a little bit of Astro Smash on the in television, and on my old trusty Aquarius. This isn't one type of alien on here, but you know, it's good fun. You can see how they're using the character graphics. The Commodore PET didn't actually have any sprite capabilities. You couldn't build sprites. So all objects had to be created using the character graphics on the keys. So what you'll find is that there's a lot of symbols used. Basic symbols, and you've got like squares and triangles and stuff that they can build the characters out of. So you'll see that there's a bit of a pattern to the characters. But I believe actually that some of the games, some of the programmers, they really were quite clever at using the graphics to make objects look quite recognisable. In fact, I think the next... Oh, there we go, I'm dead. I think the next game I'm going to play is actually going to be a good example of that, where... well, I'm not going to spoil it, but you'll see it anyway. I believe this uses 4 and 6 again. Basically, the idea is you control that strange rotating symbol, and the idea is to catch coconuts, which are in the trees. Now, as you see, when you land, you take a chunk out of the ground. Oh, and I moved too quickly there. Yeah, so the idea is to get as many coconuts without landing or without falling through the gap. If you time it right, you can actually get more than one on the... And again, it's a simple game, but it's quite clever. I don't think I've seen anything like this before. There you go. Now the problem you have, there you go, managed to get all three that time, is that you it doesn't actually fill in the floor. So this is a limited game because eventually you'll end up with no ground to land on. And I guess that's game over at that point. Well, what's clever, or what I thought was clever anyway, was the character that gets you when you fall through. Oh, there we go. This is a bit like, right, so here comes the alligator. And I just think that's great. I mean, it's a bit simplistic, but I just think it's, you know, it's good use of the graphics, the characters you have available to you, really. You know, it's almost cartoony. Oh, there we go. It's going to be quite difficult now because there's literally no ground left. Yeah. Might as well just play through to the end now because I'm not going to last very much longer. I don't know if I'm going to get across the other side. I really don't know. No, I'm not going to do that, am I? Oh, I get one more life. Okay. Oh, nearly. Alligator's getting a lot of lunch today. And there we go. So that is Alligator 2, which I actually think is a fun game, and I think it looks pretty good, don't you? So yeah, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so here we have Android Nim, which I believe is based on a very old game called Nim, which would have been available on mainframes and various systems, probably in the late 60s and 70s. Yeah, so basically the idea here is to destroy the androids and to be the one that shoots the last one. So you've got 3 androids, A, B and C. I'm going to interestingly enough, actually this one does mention sound. I can't remember if CB-2 is a machine with sound or whether it's a sound board or interface you can buy. I think it might be a board you can buy, but I don't have it installed, so let's go with the game. Some of these keys are a bit temperamental, by the way, so if you hear me press it more than once, it's just because it's not worked the first time. Yeah, so I'll play first. So basically, yeah, A, B and C and 3 rows of androids. So if I select row C, and I can do 3. And what happens is he'll just zap 3 of his androids. A bit unfortunate that zapping their brethren, but yeah, here we go. So this one is called Mission 2001. A little bit confusing because the actual file name is called Asteroids. In fact, I've got Asteroids and Mission 2001 tap files on the Tapduino, but it is the same game. Whether or not it's known as Asteroids somewhere else or whether somebody just called it Asteroids because it's basically what the game is, I'm not too sure. But anyway, Mission 2001 or Asteroids, and it is what it says on the tin. So this is the version of Atari's Asteroids from 1979. I don't remember what the keys are. Oh, that's handy, isn't it? Tells me exactly what the keys are. Yeah, so left and right are my 2 main ones, I guess. So let's go. So again, you see some rather clever use of the character graphics, because it has to change the character depending on which way you're facing. I would say it's a competent version. It's a bit of a shame it doesn't have any sound. I used to like the deep booming noises of the asteroids as they came closer, and the way it speeded up. But yeah, I think I'm not really in their trajectory, am I really? I'm gonna have to... What was it, D, wasn't it, to yeah, the chances of me oh, I mean, that's a bit sensitive. And I'll probably put myself in the path of one of those. Oh, that's better anyway. That's hey, there we go, and we're back. Oh, okay, so this one's called Bomber. Here we go. Shows you the buildings. You've got the little crosshairs, your site, hydro plants, factories and barges. So let's go. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that, as with I guess real bombs, you do have to drop them in advance of the building. I don't know why the target isn't actually lined up properly, but yeah, it's so you have to kind of think about dropping the bomb that little bit ahead of the actual building arriving. I have to be honest with you, I did pretty rubbish when I played this the first time, but I seem to be doing slightly better this time. I'm going to talk that up, aren't I? That's a real waste. Yes, you get 120 seconds, there you go, and I scored 700. Well, not too bad. So yeah, so these are all written, most of these are written in BASIC. In fact, if I do a list for people who are familiar with BASIC, that is the listing for this game. It's quite cool, really. It was probably really useful or quite helpful back in the day for people who bought the game to be able to, to be able to look at the code and understand how it works. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, that was Bomber, and you know, it was good fun. The controls, I think, because it was written in BASIC, the controls are a bit laggy. Maybe not able to keep up so much with reading the inputs. It could be the keys on my keyboard are rubbish, because, like I say, this is a bit temperamental to say the least. But yeah, that was a good game anyway. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so the next two games are both called Breakout. The only reason I'm actually this was the one I had on my list. I got a bit confused because some of them are called Breakout, some are Break-out. One was called Breakout 3.1. So it was a bit of a challenge to find out which one was the correct one. This is Breakout without the hyphen, and this seems to be the one. The reason I like this is because it's, to me, it's more arcadey. They are both the same game, but as you'll see when I load Break-out, it's slightly different. Nice and easy, 4 and 6 left and right. Yeah, so here we go, let's give it a go. Yeah, you don't need to say much about this really. This is kind of the classic game of the late 70s, wasn't it? Obviously, it was the history behind this. I think, if I remember rightly, the version that was designed by Atari was actually written or designed by Steve Wozniak of Apple, because they did some work for Atari back in the late 70s. But and that would go on to become quite an iconic game. Maybe not quite as iconic as Pong. Well, actually, or was it really? I mean, so there was various versions of Breakout available. Then we went on to games like Arkanoid, and so many other variations. one of my favourite versions actually, which is a horizontal one, is actually it was Breakout on the Commodore 64. It's a nice fun little game. Had some absolutely amazing music by the late Ben Daglish. If I ever listen to Sid music, that's one of the tunes I tend to put on, and there's been some pretty cool remixes. I think there's one absolutely bonkers version by a group called Plaster Knox, which is sort of ravey dance type thing, and it goes absolutely bonkers. Ooh, and as I said that, I'm losing a life. Yeah, so anyway, so getting back to the game, the ball's a bit of a pain. It's a bit wibbly wobbly, but apart from that, I think it plays quite well. It does tend to speed up quite quickly, but yeah, easy keys, nice decent graphics, and playable. Oh, there we go. Anyway, that's Breakout. Remember, without the hyphen. Okay, so this is break-out, and though it's inferior to the other version, I just wanted to add it just as a comparison to the other version. It's, to me, it's got a few flaws. I mean, the blocks themselves are bands rather than individual bricks. I don't know, some people may think that's fine. The bat looks like a bed, and also, as you'll see when I start playing it, it keeps moving. It's almost like it's written for a paddle, a bit like, you know, the paddle where it goes all the way to the left or to the right. So 4 and 6 take me to the left and to the right, and to stop the bat from moving you have to press 5, which does make it a bit difficult when you're playing, because if you stop it in the wrong place, then it's difficult to then move it into the right place. Anyway, I'll start the game, and you'll be able to see what I mean. So it draws the lines, and yeah. So as you see, it's kind of goes on its own. If I press 5, it stops. I mean, you get used to it, but it's just a bit strange. To me, it's just a bit off-putting. But what I do like about it is it's actually got a. Oh, that's another example. You think you're in this right place, but you're not. It's a bit annoying. But what I like about the game is it's got a circular ball rather than a square one that kind of jerks around a little bit. But yeah, apart from that, it's, you know, it's okay. What I tend to do is put the bat where I think the ball's going to be, and then quickly move it a bit further if it's not quite lined up when the ball comes down. It sometimes means I get it right on the corner. It's just not quite as smooth as the other version. I don't like this stop start thing. Anyway, I think that's probably enough of that. So let's move on to the next game, which isn't going to be Breakout. You'll be happy to know. Okay, and here we have Cosmic Fighter by MS Software, 1982. I'm sure that is Microsoft Software, but maybe it is. Anyway, this is interesting because it has the option for joystick and more than one player. So this is actually, unlike the Cursor magazines, which are, the Cursor discs, which I think were probably designed by individuals. This is actually done by a software company. I like shoot 'em ups, and this is quite good fun. Just kind of have to reach over and use the keys because the file for A is on the left hand side of the keyboard and the numeric pad is on the right hand side, so I'm kind of reaching around the camera, so hopefully I won't knock it when I'm playing. But anyway, here we go, one player. Unfortunately, the bullets have this unfortunate knack of missing most of what you're trying to shoot. But yeah, it's quite a good little, quite like the little spaceship. tend to play it safe and just keep one part of the screen clear. Right, okay. Let's mix things up a little bit. This is when I'm glad that my numeric keypad is quite responsive. Cool. Whoa, okay. It's a bit challenging with the keypad. Yeah. Oh, it's even got high score. Oh. Oh. So return return actually deletes it. So well, put spaces in. Yay. Oh, look at that high score table. That's pretty cool, isn't it? You know what? I like this game. This is kind of, I guess this is the sort of game that you'd be happy, well, sorry, I would be happy to pay for back in the day. I like my shoot 'em ups. It probably is easier with a joystick. I have to look into that idea of having a joystick on here. I don't think I need to explain what this game is or what it's about. Assuming the keys are the 45892 4682. Yeah, okay, so left and right. Oh, look at that, did so well. Yay. I don't know if those turtles actually submerge. Haven't seen them change. The crazy thing is, this is actually more playable than some versions of Frogger I've actually played on better computers, if I'm honest with you. Hey, there we go. Whoa! Get the speed of them. God, blinking hell. God, I'm mesmerised by them. God. Wow, that is the fast lane. Okay, and here we have one of the real surprises for me. I didn't think I'd be playing Galaga on the Commodore PET. I'm going to go with the option 1. Yeah, and here we go. So it is, okay, graphics primitive, but it is Galaga, and I think they move around at a decent speed. I have to keep telling people that when you look at these sort of graphics, you have to take into consideration the platform that they're running on. It's quite interesting, really, because it's kind of times like this where you have to kind of let your imagination, let your imagination kick in, and you can imagine they are more detailed ships. Oh dear, I'm not doing very well, am I? Oh, yeah. You even get the challenging stages, which I can't even remember which way they go, so I'm not even going to pretend to. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Whoa, God, it's been challenging. Oh, come on, I'm not hitting him. You can even get away with getting them sort of sneaky, right under the nose type of shots, which really need some pretty tight control and detection. Again, I think we're talking machine language here, not basic. Thankfully, got a nice speedy fire as well. None of this fire, wait for it to get to the top type of thing. It's just responsive. I think, if I remember rightly, actually this does even have the tractor beam function on the. Let's probably leave one of them, even though I'm on my last ship, so it's probably best not to be captured. I want to get my ship back. Oh dear. Okay, there you go. Well, there we go. I mean, that's what, 5 minutes worth of footage, and I think that's my last life, isn't it? Oh no, I got one more life. Oh right, okay, yeah, one life left. Oh, not one. Okay, that was a pointless. I was quite enjoying that. Anyway, yeah. So that is Galaga, and I think you'll agree that that is a pretty good version. I mean, you know, if you take away the fact that the graphics are quite basic. And that's, you can't, you know, if you had anything more detailed, you wouldn't get as many ships on the screen. At the end of the day, you have to limit the amount of characters you have available to you. But it's fast, speedy, accurate, responsive. Yeah, I really do like it. I'm almost probably going to say that is my favourite. I love Space Invaders. I love Cosmic Fighter because I love my space games. But Galaga, I think, is now my new number one. So there, you heard it first. Now, there's a few games on this list that I generally thought were impressive. You know, that they were pushing the capabilities of the machine hard, you know, and showing graphical options and the amount of things going on, and just the burden must have been quite great on the processor. I'm assuming, and this is one of them, by the way. I'm assuming that some of these were written in machine language, not BASIC, because it just seems a bit incredible that somebody could get the machine doing so many things at once so quickly just through BASIC. So this one's called Meteorites. When I saw it on the list, I thought it was another version of Asteroids, but as you'll see shortly, it's slightly different. You'll get the idea of what the game is about once I start playing. I think you're probably already understanding what the game looks a bit like. Yes, it's that classic Atari game, Missile Command. Except it's the meteorites. Even though they look slightly man-made. And I can tell you that this will... Whoops. Now the good thing... Well, the good thing, it's not necessarily a good thing, but the interesting thing about this is that the meteors do have to crash directly on top of one of your little gun emplacements or cities, whatever you want to call them, to actually destroy them. So they could land where there isn't one, and then you don't lose anything. The other thing I wasn't sure about was if there's any significance to the kind of centres to some of these, because some of them, the centres of the meteorites are just plain, others have got another character in there, and wasn't really like that's got an asterisk in it, that one's got a crosshatch pattern in. I didn't know if they meant anything, or whether they were just added for just to add variety to the game. I don't know if they don't need two hits. They probably don't go any quicker. Maybe they come in at a different angle. I haven't really paid any attention. But yeah. Bear in mind, I'm still on level 0, so I haven't really. I'm not too sure. I'm not sure if it's meteorites or points that you have to reach before. Oh, there we go. Get bonus base back. But you know, if I'm honest, this is one of my most favourite games on the PET. I think it's quite impressive. And as the levels go on, the amount of objects and the speed of the objects on the screen is quite phenomenal, and that's what makes me think it must be written in machine code, because I just cannot see you throwing that many objects around that quickly in BASIC. It would I think it would include or require some pretty tight coding to get everything updating that quickly. I mean, I played this once before. I got into a level 6 or something, I think, or level 4, and there were like 6 or 7 objects on the screen, and and they're not small objects, so that's quite a lot of movement going on. Oops. Okay, and here we have Millipede. we go, number one. Whoa, look at that. That is one hell of a spider. I presume it's a spider. I think that's an alien Space Invader. But... whoa, didn't notice. Oh, didn't see that. Didn't realise it had gone all the way down to the bottom. Youch. Okay, so this is Pac-Man, but not as we know it. The mazes are different. You know, it might, if you're a purist, then you ain't gonna like this. But it's Pac-Man remix. It's not Miss Pac-Man or Pac-Man Plus or anything. It's like a remix of the original one. Anyway, so let's stop talking and let's actually start playing. I can't remember. I must think the keys are numeric, and if I press the right keys, I would be able to use them. Yeah, what I found with the original Pac-Man is that I just didn't like the controls on them that much. It just seemed a bit, when you got to corners, and didn't quite turn how I wanted it to. I found myself kind of flying off to parts of the screen I didn't really want to be in. So, but this one's quite nice. I mean, the ghosts are a bit plain, I suppose you could say, but you know, I just find it more fun. Whether the logic behind the game is the same, I'm not too sure. It's got moving fruit a bit like Miss Pac-Man. Quite like the way the eyes go back to the. Obviously that's authentic, but yeah, okay. I played it safe though. I didn't really go into going after the point at all, but yeah. I'll pick up the fruit for extra points. Uh-oh. Yeah, that was probably not a good move. Oh. That's about it. Lost my fingers on the keys there for a second. There we go, level 2. Okay, so here we have Ski by Mike Singleton. The name Mike Singleton may be familiar to some of you. I'm not sure if it's the same Mike Singleton, but I could assume it might be, because I guess he would have been writing games on these early machines. But this would be the late Mike Singleton, who wrote games like Lords of Midnight, Doom Dark's Revenge on the Spectrum. Later went on to write the Midwinter games on the 16 bits. Not sure if he did 8 bits. Mike's actually credited for at least 2 games on the PET. Both this is actually listed as being published under PetSoft. I think the other one was something like Space Ace or something. Space Ace, Space War, Space something anyway. Yeah. So you know, I'm going to assume this was written by the Mike Singleton that we know from the UK games development. side of it. And this is quite a fun little game, if I'm honest with you. It's a bit similar to Canyon, but I quite like the skiers graphic. 1 and 2, left and right. Okay, so we'll let's go through the things. So, do I need to do the distance of the run? Oh, right, distance. Okay, yeah, there we go. So 1,000 meters. Width. I can't do width because W doesn't work. I never realised. T, type of run. Slalom, giant slalom, Olympic downhill slalom. Let's just do downhill for the time being, just so I don't make a complete fool of myself. Yes, and there we go. So, space. Right, yeah. So it's just basically a left and right. Oh, and look at not a good start. But I just love the graphics. I just love that little man with his with his skis, with his knees together and his little skis. Oh, for God's sake! Sorry, I'm being an absolute terrible ambassador for this game. But yeah, it's actually, I quite like it. And the little animation left and right. I mean, even the fallen over animation is quite good. Or graphic. Yeah, what you need to be able to do on here is you don't tap it incrementally. You just have to hold down the button because otherwise you're not going to turn enough. But as I've said before on some of these games, I think it's just it's a smooth game, and it's good implementation of the graphics, really, of the characters. And even the left and right graphic is quite good. Doesn't it? Works. So I looked at the camera then to see if it was still recording. Right, maybe I should be paying attention to the game and not to the camera. If it stops recording, it stops recording. Oh, there you go, finished anyway. Okay, so this is Space Invaders. Oh, this isn't actually Space Invaders, but this is an interesting. Little graphic that comes up when you load the game. And it talks about the CB2, which you may have noticed on some of the other games is some sort of sound interface, I suppose. And it shows you how to connect it up to the PET. I guess Space Invaders does have music, or sorry, not music, obviously not music, but sound. And this is a little, little diagram of how everything goes and where you put the resistor. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go on to the actual game. And if I'm honest with you, this is a pretty competent version. Obviously, they've had to bend the graphics on the aliens slightly different. I mean, the first one's fair enough, but the other two are obviously a little bit different. The UFO is quite cool, I think. This is going into demo mode, by the way, so you can just get to see the game. But for the longest amount of time, this was my favourite game on the PET. I don't remember playing it back in the day. I don't think we had a lot of games at our school, and this wouldn't have been on there. So I don't think I played this. I did play this a couple of years ago, though, on this PET when Simon brought this Tapturino around for the first time, and I was actually blown away because it was just so amazing compared to anything else I've played on the PET. It's a bit sad that I've left it probably 2 years before I've actually come back to it, but here I am, and here it is, and well, I guess it'd be rude not to have a go at it. So didn't actually notice what the keys were. Was it 4 and 6 left and right, and was it A for far, I think? We shall see. Yeah, that's it, that's what we want. Oh. It's not the same without the deep thudding beat, is it? I would do my impression, but I think that would just I think the few people that might actually watch this video would be seriously put off at that point. Oh, dear me. Oh dear, I'm not doing too well. Let's try this side. Get rid of some of these bases, tiny dose. Oh, what? I mean, it's iconic. I don't think there was any computer out there that doesn't have a version of this, and many other devices that aren't computers or consoles also have a copy of this, including probably calculators and cameras and other things that you wouldn't have thought would have been able to do it. Oh, no, a minute. Oh, what? Did that hit me? Well, that's just embarrassing, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to play Space Invaders, because that score of 690 was a bit of an embarrassment. The one thing I do like about this version, by the way, is the way that it has the little intro. The little alien comes along and corrects the spelling. I believe it also corrects some some text on the high score table or the next screen. Oh no, there it is on the screen, that keyboard commands. They're just fun, isn't it? Just fun stuff. There we go. Anyway, I'm going to have another go because I was basically embarrassingly bad on the first go. I could blame the game, but I don't think that's very fair, is it? Let's get rid of these bases. I always tend to do that, even on the... Oh, got it. I do like the way they're throwing dollars at you. Take the money. There you go. Can have that one there. Hey! Thank God for that. Okay, this is Star Wars. I'm not too sure what the far button is. Oh, it's A. Now, the weird thing about this is the flight controls are inversed, so I'm going to have to go down to go up, etc. There we go. There's a laser temperature. Whoa! Angry H's. But I love those TIE fighters when they get close. They kind of go 3D. I like it. Oh, and they can't shoot. Starts as an H and becomes quite a detailed TIE fighter. I think they're actually firing back at me at the moment. Oh. No, I'm going a bit... I don't know if that little block... I presume that little block in the corner the thing, he tells me where the... maybe where the next one is. Or maybe that was just a fluke because there isn't any more. Right. Yeah, I'm locked. Oh, I'm overheated. cool down. Not so much for feel the force, Luke, as cool the lasers. Okay, so we've come to the end of the gameplay video on the Commodore PET. I'd like to say a massive thank you for watching the video. I hope you found at least some of it interesting. Maybe if you've got a Commodore PET and you're looking for games to play on it, or even if you're looking to play it on an emulator. There's obviously several Commodore emulators like Vice and that actually will allow you to play Commodore games on there. In fact, in a way, emulations are quite an interesting way to go, because this machine, for instance, has only got 16 kilobytes of RAM, so I'm limited on what games I could play. Some of them were on different models of PET, some of them needed 32K of RAM, so I couldn't play those. But yeah, I mean, there are some, I mean, I think I discovered something like 250 separate titles. And then there's also homebrew titles as well. That surprised me. There's a number of homebrew titles. But anyway, like I say, thanks for watching. If you've got to the end of the video, then a massive thumbs up to you, and thanks for persevering. I apologise for the various things like the noise, things moving around when I've knocked things out, like the tripod. I'm actually amazed we didn't have any disasters. I mean, this literally, I have not had to change anything at all. There's been nothing. The worst thing that I've had happen to me while I've been recording these segments is that I've actually ran out of storage space on my phone and haven't realised that it stopped recording. So some of the segments might kind of fade out sooner than you think, or that you would expect them to. That's probably because I hadn't realised that it stopped recording. But we're Knowledge Retro Gamers. You can like the page on Facebook. We have a website, although it's not updated that often. There's some interesting articles on there and magazines and stuff if you'd like to have a browse, but it's a little bit out of date. That's retrogamers.org. This will be up on YouTube with my other videos as well. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye. Okay. I thought I'd just add this last little bonus into the gameplay footage recording. I've done a lot of contemporary games and I've done a few homebrew titles, but this was something that I wasn't expecting to find, so I hope you enjoy. Short, but very sweet.
Are you keeping up with the Commodore? 'Cause the Commodore is keeping up with you. In a world of fun and fantasy, and ever-changing views, and computer terminals.